Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer at $350,000 guaranteed pick 4 at Keeneland on Saturday. The feature race, of course, is the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. But we begin the sequence with race number 7. It's a now winners of 3 other than allowance, scheduled for a mile on the turf. Is it finally Bondurant's time to shine? I have been chasing Bondurant in tougher races. Let's be honest, he's disappointed me. Here's the drop he needs. Are you going to look at it that way? I'm kind of. Or are you going to say, he's Bondurant after all?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to look at it maybe a little bit of both of those things. I mean, it is the right kind of race to run him in now. Just give him a little class relief and see what happens. I still don't think he's that good. But this is the right race for him. Not that it's, an easy allowance race. I mean, there are some pretty good horses in here. And as a matter of fact, I think there are some horses in here who are better than him. But this is the right race to run him in. I guess I would use him. Revved Up. I think Revved Up is a good horse. I actually feel like he might be the best horse in the race. I just wonder, I really feel like he wants to go longer than this. I think his best races are longer than a mile. He ran well over a mile on this course back in the spring, in April. But it's worth pointing out that was a big meltdown race. The closers just dominated in there, and he came from way out of it and got a piece. He can win here, but I don't trust him that much going shorter. I like Parlor in this race. I think he's a good horse. I know he's a 3-year-old taking out some older horses. He's a good horse. He's getting class relief. I'm going to use him. Maybe a little the Maker horse on the rail. That horse is going to go to the front in this race. I think that horse could be dangerous on the
That's trust factor down towards the inside for Michael Maker. I'm going to be leaning on Bondurant in this race. I'm going to use a couple.
Get away from that horse.
I can't get away from. And again, maybe the loyalty is just going to bite me. But this is a good spot. Yeah. Aero Force is a horse going out from Mark Casse, who's had nothing but success seemingly at Keeneland this year. This is a horse that began his career with a lot of potential. He has not won a race since the Kentucky Jockey Club on dirt. He had an okay campaign to begin his 3-year-old season. Was away for a long time, came back. That layoff, I'm not going to hold against him, chasing Chocolate Ride throughout, but then another layoff. I think he's going to get a great trip in behind Trust Factor here, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a chance. And the 5 Burn James Burn is a horse. He's just real solid. And Keith Nations took this horse for 32, and while he hasn't won with him yet, he's gotten him right there. And what I've liked in the recent starts is they're trying to teach him to get off the pace and finish. And I think it's been somewhat successful. He's going to be a big price. He'd be my backup in here, leaning on Bondurant, but I'll also use Aero Force and Burn James Burn. You're using Bondurant, but you really like Parlor in here. And you do a little bit of Revved Up.
Parlor Revved Up. I'm going to...
And the horse on the rail.
I looked at Aero Force and just thought, I'll use him as a backup. I'm not a huge fan, but I will use him as a backup in this race because he could clearly win. And I just sort of felt like Trust Factor was an interesting horse to use at a price, especially because
Are you worried that Fish Trap Road goes after him early in his turf debut?
I guess. Fish Trap Road's just been so horrendous lately. I don't know what you're going to get out of that horse, but he's got speed. I guess he could cause a problem for Trust Factor.
Second leg of this $350,000 guaranteed pick 4. It's a nice dirt race, 6 furlongs. It's an optional claimer for 3-year-old fillies. Listen, you can go so many different ways, and there appears to be a lot of speed in here. We talked about China Grove before we came on, and this filly would really benefit if the pace is fast. The last fast track dirt race she ran, she won. It was the Wide Country at Laurel in her first start this year. Then it was Synth. Then it was Sloppy Track in the 8th Bells, Wet Track at Laurel, 2 turf races. Her form's dirtied up that she's going to be a price and she's going to be running late.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that stuff. I mean, this is a horse I'm very interested in using in a bet like the pick 4 because I think she will be a price, and I think she is better than she looks to. I'm a fan of hers, and I definitely want to give her another chance. I feel the same way. I'm interested to see what you thought about the 12 Promises Broken. I feel that way about her, too. I think if you look at her form, there are a couple of ugly running lines in there, but I think she's better than she looks on paper. I think she actually has some ability and she has some speed from the outside, and I'm going to use her at a price too. I threw Mythical Talon, the 3. I don't love that horse, but she comes off of a win at 7 furlongs at Churchill Downs, and I think that she fits relatively well in this field.
This race, to me, looks like a spread. We're in the first leg. I'm leaning on Bondurant, using Aero Force and Burn James Burn perhaps as backups. Here I'm going to use 3 A's. I'm going to use Aunt Jen, who's shipping in from Southern California for trainer Brad Cox, now with Brad Cox. This horse has speed, might be in a little bit of trouble from a race dynamic standpoint, but she's very steady over there, and I think she's going to give a good account of herself. Perfect Wife is a horse that I think is another horse that might be a little bit dirtied up. They tried Turf off a long layoff. Before that, she was in the Honeybee. Then it was her first start of the year. I think the shorter, actually, the better for Perfect Wife, and she can work out a good trip. The number 9, Too Much Tip, is getting a chance, a little bit of class relief. They ran her in the Miss Preakness. They ran her in the Victory Ride. I think she actually gets that tracking trip in the second flight, getting the jump on these closers, turning into the stretch.
She's interesting. You know, it's funny. I look at her, and she, you know, what was she supposed to do in the Victory Ride? I guess that was just a race she couldn't win, although, I don't know. I didn't think that she ran that great. And I didn't think her Miss Preakness was that good enough for her. I mean, not that it was terrible. She ran an 81 figure. The field was fine, but I thought all in all she got a good trip, had her shot at it, and wasn't good enough. I was a little disappointed in how she ran.
Delphinia is another one that I would use as a backup. So the 4, 5, 9 would be A's, China Grove, and the 11 would be B's. Delphinia, another horse is running on turf, running on synthetic. The lone dirt race was good. The Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup is the third leg. It's the feature race at Keeneland on Saturday. It's the DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day, which means if you head to the Race of the Day event page on DRF.com, you can access free Formulator past performances, and you can get our stakes preview video where we just talk about every horse in the race. It appears that my top selection, the 7 Wuheda, has scratched, came up with a little bit of an injury. I had to rework my opinions a little bit. I'll let you go first.
I'm going to use Proctor's Ledge, who I like in the race. I think she will get a good trip. She's really improved recently, and I think she gets a good trip in this race. And, you know, that being said, I'm not really against either of Chad Brown's horses. I think both the 10 Uni and the 11 New Money Honey, I think they can both win, and I'm going to use both of those horses.
I'm going to try to beat New Money Honey, and I think I'm going to be foolish, but I know she's going to be a short price, and I just don't think she has such a tremendous edge over this field that maybe she deserves to be a short price. I'm going to use your top selection, Proctor's Ledge. I'm going to use Beau Recall coming from the back of the pack. I've always felt that there was a race with her name on it, and she just hasn't been able to get there. She needs a little bit of pace. She'll be running at the end. I'll use Uni for Chad and Arad Ortiz, a horse that just has become very consistent since coming over here. And then I'm going to use La Coronel. She really loves Keeneland. That was a disappointing loss last time out in the Sands Point. But I have a feeling that La Coronel's been pointed for this race after going to Royal Ascot. They brought her back cold on the board in the Lake Placid, the Sands Point, a slow step forward. And now in the third start back, we'll see her in the QE2 Cup. She's going to be forward, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of pace in this race. Final leg's a tough maiden. That's race number 10, 7 furlongs, maiden special weight, 3-year-olds and up. What do you do with the 5B jersey for Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana Jr.? This horse was last seen running in the UAE Derby. He had no chance in that race as a maiden, and now he returns off a long layoff with Lasix with Asmussen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call it running in the UAE Derby, although you got beat a million lengths in there. On a wet track, though, I mean, I'm going to use this horse just for the reasons you mentioned. You know, running this horse in back-to-back group races in Dubai, and now getting Lasix for the first time. We'll see. I'm going to use him. It's not like I love him or anything, but I'm going to use that horse. And I sort of looked at this race and felt like, where's the form, Dan? There's like really no form in here. I will admit that I was a fan of Powerful Allies at Saratoga. I thought he ran really well in his first start at Saratoga. His second and third starts up there, or his second start up there and his recent start at Churchill, they weren't good at all. I like him cutting back a little bit, though. I think that could work for him, so I'll use him. Right. And then the other 2 horses for me were C-Dub, the 6, who debuted very early in the year at Oaklawn, around 2 turns, took some money, and then didn't run, has been working up an absolute storm on the way back, and he's wicked bred, that horse. And I'm going to use the first-time starter on the outside, the 12. Belgrano, Warfront, he's more of a turf sire, but he's a good debut sire.
Big workouts.
This horse has big workouts and a huge pedigree on the dam side. Asta Moon was a real good dirt horse in New York a few years ago. I'm going to use those horses.
Powerful Ally, I'm going to use. I like the turn back with him as well.
He's been disappointing,
his 2 and 3 back are certainly good enough to win this race. No Such a Tease for you, a horse that improved with blinkers last time out, going the 7 furlongs at Churchill Downs. Going to have to work something out from the inside post, but I'm going to use Such a Tease as well. 1, 5, and 8 for me. It's really a tough sequence highlighted by the Grade 1 Queen of Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. It's a $350,000 guaranteed pick 4, beginning with race number 7, an approximate post time for Bondurant in race number 7, 4:24 Eastern. Best of luck.